Hola, hello, bonjour, welcome to the International Archives Week Lighting Talks. I am Carlos Serrano, Executive Director of ICA, and it's a pleasure to accompany all of you today. Before starting, please note that Zoom's automated closed captions are available because we will have presentations in English and Spanish. So, tengan en cuenta que tenemos subtítulos automáticos con traducción automática y que pueden seleccionar su idioma preferido en la parte de abajo de su pantalla. À tous, s'il y a aussi des participants francophones, je vous dis qu'il y a des sous-titrages automatiques et des traductions automatiques que vous pouvez choisir au bas de vos écrans. Now, so to start, as I said, it is a pleasure to have you with us and for this session about the theme of this year's International Archives Week, Archives Are Accessible. Each presentation, I must say, that you will hear today has been prepared by ICA members from across the globe. They will share with us real experiences, insights, and projects that aim to remove barriers and expand access to archives in diverse contexts. The topic of this session, inclusion and representation in archival practices, it aims to spark a discussion on diversifying archival narrative by ensuring that voices from a wide range of cultures and communities are included. So with this session, we would like to highlight that collaboration and grassroots efforts are crucial to making sure that the archive and stories of underrepresented groups are captured and remain accessible. About the format of the webinar, it's going to be very simple, and probably you already know it if you participated in on the other webinars. But each speaker will have 5 minutes to present, followed by a brief moment for questions or comments, maybe 1 or 2. So we invite you to share your thoughts or questions in the Q&A box as we go along. So we are ready. So to begin, we will hear from Arcelia Esther Pérez Padilla from the University of Guadalajara, presenting her case that called Between Private and Public, Ethical Challenges in Accessing the Lesbian-Feminist Archive of Patlatonalli. She will discuss the ethical dilemmas in managing archives of historically marginalized communities and focusing on balancing access and privacy through the case of these lesbian collective archives. So please, Arcelia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good morning from Guadalajara. I will now share my screen. I will try to not go any further than 5 minutes, so I'll check my own time. Hi, my name is Arcelia Paz. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Guadalajara, and I am in charge of the lesbian collectives archive at the university. It's called Patlatonalli, which comes from two Nahuatl indigenous words here in Mexico, which means lesbian and destiny. And they were the first organized collective in Western Mexico. They were active from 1986 to 2011 mostly. And yeah, now I am in charge of making their collection accessible. But exactly, this is where we've been having some issues that I would like to share with you. So on the, I'm dyslexic, I'm sorry. On the, I think, the right side of your screen, you can see a letter. It's not handwritten for us, maybe millennials and younger generations, that we didn't use a typewriter. This is what a typewritten letter looks like. So we have it in Spanish. We have some materials in English, but it's mostly in Spanish. So when I was trying to build this archive, I came across upon many letters, like handwritten and even typed out letters. So should we digitize it? Should we make it public? And who gets to decide? Some of them are just letters written to the collective saying, oh my God, I'm so happy that you guys exist. How can I be a part of this? And some are, I'm struggling with my identity. I have no one else to talk to. And some of the materials are quite private and very sensitive. So we have about 3,400 materials in general, emails, minutes, correspondence, newsletters, we have a lot, and about 720 pictures. So now we're dealing with what to do with it. Should we make it public? Should we censor some of it out? Who gets to decide? The collective donated it to the university, and I am somewhat in charge of deciding what happens next with the university, of course. So context is important because this, again, is a lesbian collective. It's a feminist and lesbian. It was mostly lesbian and bisexual women. We do have some heterosexual women and straight women and allies who were part of the collective, but they were the minority within the group. So we have both we're trying to make it visible because historically, queer and lesbian women have been excluded from official archives or have not been cataloged as such. We have this trope of, oh, and they were roommates instead of they were a couple who were living together, but also the protection of, we don't want to make vulnerable, we don't want to in any way violate the privacy and anonymity of certain characters who were not, have not yet signed a consent form. So we don't intend on outing anyone. We've come up with a very simple system of a traffic light. A green is a full public access material. A yellow is an access with certain information redacted, but this comes after the person who wants to access it has been identified, has filled out a form, has emailed us, they've talked to us prior. And red is the restricted access only for academic research, but we're still dealing with how to make sure that whoever accesses the material does not, it creates how can we assure the members of the collective that their materials are being used in a correct form, if that even exists. Retroactive consent, this has been an issue for us. We're actively searching for authors and protagonists to make sure that they understand that their materials or materials that pertain to them are now with us. And strategic anonymization. We would like to blur out, in a way, certain identifiers, but still preserve historical value. And we're working on correspondence and photographs mostly. And this is one of my examples. This is on to the left is one of the originals. I created an event. This is just one of the many projects or side projects that we're trying to build upon to make the archive accessible. We're trying to get young women to write and to answer certain letters that were written to the collective many years ago. This is a letter from '96, and this is just from a couple of months ago when we had an event. And young women are now interacting with the letters in a less academic way and much more of a personal and sensitive way. So what we've learned, accessibility is not just technical, it's ethical. And it can be politicized as well. We're trying to build upon that in a very respectful way. Communities must be the protagonists of their own archives, not the institutions where the materials are hosted now. And we invite other institutions to rethink accessibility as a collaborative process and not just a one-sided decision. A truly accessible archive is one that protects while making the materials visible. And thank you so much. And these are my communication channels if someone is interested in dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arcelia. Maybe you can stay with your camera on. just to answer some questions. Like first, like thank you very much. It was very insightful, especially like the challenges to keep like privacy and access and to make visible the community at the same time. So one of the questions related to that is they are asking what happened with when the archival material was transferred and donated to the university, that if there were kind of stipulations already on this, or if they wanted to make it public, or if there was any discussion at the time, and if not, I mean, how do you start discussions with the people involved?
The collective donated it to the university about 2000, I think 22, I believe. I was not involved in the first discussion, but I joined the discussion. I was not part of the collective. And they are very much lo personal es político.
Mm-hmm.
Personal is political. And which is a feminist big slogan here in Mexico and Latin America in general. So they are very much pro make it all accessible. The good bits and the bad bits. But once the university got involved, and of course, La Ley General de Archivo, which is the law that dictates what we can do with archival materials, evidently things changed and we cannot make everything accessible as they would want. So now we're having this constant dialogue with two of the people who donated the materials and trying to both explain and decide with them that we cannot make everything accessible. And now we're trying to get the approval of many people involved. And so it has become now much more of an institutional liaison between people and not just what the collective would want, unfortunately.
Thank you very much. I mean, the second question is the following. It's like, what are the ways in which the lesbian and feminist community has been involved in the archival process of the collection?
We involved, well, the collective was quite small, but at the end, it was. And mostly the two of them, the last two standing, decided what to do with the materials. I organized them for a year pro bono, and then now I get to research upon that. But they've been involved in the not directly. They've been involved because they know what we're doing. It's mostly like me trying to address a public that not it doesn't exist all the time, and constantly saying, oh, this is what we're doing, this is where we're at. But mostly people have been wanting to donate more materials, like, oh, can I donate this and that? And we've been trying to reach out to a broader LGBT population from the 80s and 90s who would also want to donate their materials. But we, well, I created a couple of museum exhibitions. So I've been trying to create other channels of communication that go beyond the academic world.
Thank you, Arcelia. And one last question. I think it's a little bit challenging, but I will ask it anyway. Is one of the participants is asking is, how do you measure success collective-wise in terms of giving the community a voice? How do you when do you think, okay, we are making this community visible, or their voice is being heard? I mean, do you have a way to measure that, or like a feeling to know, okay, this is an indicator of success of what we are doing?
That is a very interesting question. We have certain numbers of people who have tried to access the materials or have attended one of the events, or who visited the different museum exhibits, but we don't have, I guess, I don't know, like a number that indicates how far we've progressed. It would be amazing to create such indicator, but I think I have been noticing much more talk about history and archiving, and the memory of a movement that exists to this day, has been politicized in many various platforms. And I don't know, lesbians in Mexico are visible, but they have been not the most represented letter of the LGBTQ. So I think we are starting to understand the diversity within the dissidents. And so it would be amazing to know how many people we've reached, and if such community feels represented in a much more broader way.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Arcelia. And we will continue with the next speaker, who is Vlatka Lemić. She's the Vice President of ICARUS, and she's presenting Archive and Traces of Migration, the Atom Project inside. Vlatka, she will offer an overview of the Atom Project, which explores how archives can document and connect with migrant communities while promoting best practices in preserving migration-related heritage across Europe. So, Vlatka, please be welcome.
Thank you very much. I will just share my screen with you that you can see the project. So my idea was to present to you this ongoing project that now going to finalizing phase. This is collaborating project founded by Creative Europe, and consortium of this project was ICARUS Croatia, one association, two national archives, Spanish National Archive, which is part of Ministry of Culture, National Archives of Hungary, regional archives in Sittard in Netherlands, and we have some associated partners, and also we had advisor, and this was Professor Ann Glinilan from Los Angeles. So what was our idea in the project? It was to explore and to research best practices in dealing with archives material regarding migrants, refugees, everything that is connected with migration. We want to proceed this migration research from archival perspective. So migration is very topic theme right now, but we want to do what archives do with this material, how it's appraised, how it's collected, how it's accessible. Do archives collaborate with communities that are subject of these materials? And we wanted to really to explore the best archival practice, also to connect archival profession with migrant, various migrant communities. And we also want to work together in this. So the idea was to, the goal of the project was to introduce some new education and training practices. We want also to collect and present oral histories from migrant communities. We also explored question of finding aids, how the finding aids dealing with migrant materials are treated in archives, and do the community members have some insight in these materials. And also we want to co-create some presentations, virtual exhibition, physical exhibition, and other products with community that are we dealing with. One of the first activities was education and training for archivists and documentary heritage professionals. We wanted to prepare the materials. We go to approach training the trainees. We wanted to create materials that members of project will dealing with, and that show it in their countries, and at least involved some archivists and documentary heritage professionals to go with this. We prepare such a kind of manual, this handbook of best practices. We organized in every country more than 10 live and virtual trainings. We involved all these people, so we try to transfer the knowledge from a heritage specialist to various community members. And all is deliverable on our webpage. Also, second part, which was in charge, our Netherlands partners, how to collect and prepare some oral histories. We're launching this campaign. We are working with NGOs, we are working with communities. We want to collect these materials. Everything is also presented and posted on the web. And we also want to incorporate this material in all the deliverables that we approach, oral, virtual exhibition, physical exhibition as well. One of the issue was also dealing with archives. So we have international survey. We ask various type of authors what they think about migratory materials, how they treat it, what is their practice in description of this material. So, and we also collect materials. Archives give us this material, various finding aids, how various archives deal with these migratory materials. Also, what we do with this, we prepared one transnational exhibition. It was very challenging for us to do virtual exhibition in archives among us own without marketing and social media professionals. We also make a physical exhibition, and you see how all these materials was mixed together. For example, one of the deliverables that you can see, this European survey of migrant fund and collections, our definition and examples of collected guides, they are all part of these handbooks and they are all available on the web. It's very interesting to see various cultural and historical backgrounds in not just in Europe, but also in America and elsewhere, how various types of archives, we are all, as I told you, all involved partners also have different backgrounds. National archives, regional archives, archival associations. So to exchange our definitions and our practices with not just with dealing with this material, with the pricing of these materials was really challenges. One of the things that we are proud of is our virtual exhibition that is also available on the project webpage. The technology behind this was National Archives of Hungary. You can find these traces of all the migrants that going all across the globe. You can find these oral histories. You can find the stories from people here inside. And this is basically that I also challenge all of you to see. Also, final conclusion of our project is this handbook with more than 400 pages. It's available also for free online, where we want to collect all this material, all these experiences and best practices, not just from archival perspective, but we are also trying to share this knowledge and these exercises that we collect here to the communities and to the people who are involved in their communities in dealing in collected documentary materials and teach them how to do with this. So basically, this is some insight in our project. You are all welcome to see it and to share these materials and to connect that with all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vlatka. We have already two questions. The first one is if the project has any type of cooperation with the International Organization for Migration.
Yes and no. Informally, when they see what we are doing, they came to us actually after the project was launched, since we have this international survey and we ask everybody interested for participation to give us examples, to share their practices, and then actually many institutions approach us and ask to participate or to share material.
Thank you. And the second question is the following: he says, since this is a collective and participatory effort, Are there any guidelines on mapping out and selecting the focus for migrant groups? Like saying like to avoid marginalization?
Actually, we try to embrace all type of migration, historical migration, current migration, refugees as well, minority group, and everybody who was interested. So we were asked in every of our countries, we asked all interesting to participate in this event, and we worked with them. So everybody from all type of minority group or any type of refugee groups, and anybody who approaches us and asks, can you help us with this or that, or how we do that, we go to them and we include them in the project or ask how we can support them in their future work. So basically this was the idea, to connect archives with not just with local communities, but with minority groups, NGOs, historical association, to help them in dealing with their materials and to support them in collecting them on their own.
Perfect. Thank you, Vlatka. So to continue, our next presentation is titled Our Voices and History Matter, co-designing the Opioid Crisis Community Archive. And this will be delivered by Polina, Ilieva, Dan Cavella, and Kelly Knight from the University of California, San Francisco. They will share the story of a collaborative project developed with communities impacted by the opioid crisis, focusing on how designing the archive with those directly affected helps to preserve fragile records and build more inclusive and socially meaningful collections. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carlos. Hello, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you virtually. I am representing a team of archivists and researchers at University of California, San Francisco, that are working on co-designing the Opioid Crisis Community Archive with multiple community members. So the University of California, San Francisco, or UCSF, is a health sciences university.
Polina?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but could you change the presentation mode as we are seeing all the display? Thank you so much.
Okay, just a second.
Perfect. Thank you.
Fantastic. Can you see it? Is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. So University of California, San Francisco is a health sciences university focused on advancing health worldwide. We have at UCSF Archives and Special Collections have been collecting on the previous epidemics, including HIV/AIDS epidemic, and had a AIDS history project created in 1987. And we continue collaborating with community organizations, including San Francisco AIDS Foundation, for which we have been serving as an archival repository for many years. Another project is the Opioid Industry Document Archive that was co-created by UCSF and Johns Hopkins University in 2021. And it preserves and provides permanent online public access to previously internal corporate documents that were open for litigation and other sources. However, there is more to that story of opioid epidemic than that has been evidenced in the industry documents. And in 2024, the UCSF archivists and researchers partnered with community-based collaborators to co-design the Opioid Crisis Community Archive, or OCCA. This is the first archive documenting how affected communities and community-based organizations in Northern California have responded to the opioid crisis. And this project became available through a grant from LSTA Community Impact Grant from the California State Library. And the idea for the project was born from community-identified needs to preserve and share histories of strength and perseverance despite multiple remaining cultural barriers. So the community-based nature of these organizations makes their records ephemeral and in danger of loss and destructions if they are not preserved and organized through well-funded efforts. For almost a year, we have been partnering with several organizations, including San Francisco AIDS Foundation, the Homeless Youth Alliance of San Francisco, the HIV Education and Prevention Project of Alameda County, Safer Alternatives Through Networking and Education in Sacramento, the Vanguard Lab in San Francisco, and Santa Cruz Needle Exchange in Santa Cruz. And we are co-designing the Opioid Crisis Community Archive with all these community partners. And the main goal is to collect primary sources that generated by the organizations and communities and that relate to advocacy, prevention, harm reduction, and other activities. And the main goal and mission is to create an inclusive historical record and expand its social and health justice impact. And all of these agencies already have begun the archival work even before we reached out to them, but they were lacking training, skills, and support to preserve these materials. During the fall of 2024, our team members conducted site visits with each of the community partners. We helped with inventory the archival materials and engaging in multiple conversations about our partners' vision for their respective archives, training and technical assistance needs, and potential barriers that exist. The site visits formed an integral part of our co-designing process, and then we developed tailored report back about materials to expand the dialogue between UCSF and our community partners. And from these assessments, we designed and carried out in-person hands-on workshops on archiving practices with a focus on equity. In January and May of 2025, our team hosted Archives 101, 2 day-long in-person professional development events that were centered on practical archival learning. And community partners and our team members engaged in hands-on learning with the archivists at UCSF. Participants were trained on principles of archiving and historical preservation. And as part of this training, our community partners were invited to bring and share examples of their own collections to facilitate conversation about meaning of archives, different approaches to archives design, and the ethical and practical issues surrounding archiving in the context of community-based organizations serving communities impacted by the opioid crisis. Collectively, UCSF and community partners are removing barriers for impacted communities to preserve their histories and provide access to archival materials, enabling community members to participate in archival practices. The Opioid Crisis Community Archive provided a platform to include our community partners to present at an international conference. It's about 1 billion lives. And each community is identifying its post-custodial model of archiving and how they will be bringing, now they will be also bringing all their materials or selected materials together through a digital portal that will be maintained by UCSF Archives. And I would like to also stress that this is an ongoing project, and we are co-organizing a community archiving event, which will be held on Friday, June the 13th. So that work continues. If you have any ideas for collaborations or questions, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Polina. I invite everybody to ask questions in the chat. While they write their questions, I have one for Polina. You were talking about the hands-on activities where people were bringing some materials, but they were also raising some questions like practical or ethical issues that they have to face during this process of archiving. Could you give us an idea what were these practical or ethical issues that, or the most common issues that are raised during these workshops and activities?
Yes, thank you for this question. And the issues and questions that were brought up, they similar to Arcelia's questions. How we can ethically provide access to some private histories and oral histories, some zines that were created by communities, without necessarily exposing people to potential harms. So how can we and the communities maintain that balance of providing access, but then keeping people safe? And I think it's an ongoing discussion, not only for our archives, but for many others.
Thank you very much, Polina. We will continue with our next presentation, and I will switch to Spanish for this. You don't have to do anything. If you have already activated your subtitles. Bueno, nuestra presentación final se titula Del archivo oculto al archivo vivo, digitalizando el legado de resistencia indígena del CERJ en Guatemala. Y será presentada por Angélica Macario del CERJ con el apoyo de Corsin Blumenthal de la organización swisspeace. Ellos nos hablarán sobre un poderoso esfuerzo de varios años para rescatar, preservar y digitalizar los frágiles archivos de esta organización indígena de derechos humanos fundada en los años 80 durante el conflicto armado en Guatemala. Entonces, Angélica.
Escucho.
Bienvenida. Puedes empezar.
Gracias. Hola, mi nombre es Angélica Macario. Soy de Guatemala, de origen maya quiché. Mi organización se llama Consejo de Comunidades Étnicas Runugel Junam, CERJ. Runugel Junam está en el idioma quiché y significa todos iguales. Esta organización nace en los años 80. Su principal objetivo fue resistir al reclutamiento forzoso y a las graves violaciones de derechos humanos que cometió el Estado de Guatemala, especialmente en el altiplano, que fue un lugar muy afectado o fue el lugar más afectado donde somos la mayoría de la población indígena. Quiero comentar que lastimosamente, a pesar de que ya se fueron, ya fue firmar los acuerdos de paz, en el 2003 asesinan a mi padre. Entonces, venimos sufriendo desde el conflicto armado y después de los acuerdos de paz. CERJ fue una organización de derechos humanos Lastimosamente, esta organización ya en los 2000 deja de funcionar con sus instalaciones, pero nosotros como miembros de esta organización no dejamos de participar, no dejamos de existir y trabajar o seguir trabajando con las víctimas del conflicto armado. En los años 2005, en una oportunidad nos reunimos con una profesora que se llama Marcia Esparza de la Universidad de John Jay y estuvimos platicando qué hay de esta organización, qué hay de estos documentos que documentó todas las graves violaciones de derechos humanos que se cometieron en los años 80 o durante el conflicto armado interno. Se podría mencionar las graves ejecuciones extrajudiciales, las violaciones sexuales, las adopciones ilegales y de tantas atrocidades que se cometieron durante el conflicto armado interno. Y decidimos y tomamos la decisión de velar por estos documentos. Como les mencionaba, esta organización dejó de funcionar y sus documentos se trasladaron en un lugar que se llama Sololá, donde tuvo su espacio, la organización donde se realizaban los talleres de derechos humanos. De allí tuve que tomar la decisión de trasladarlo, porque quiero comentarles que estos documentos tuvo varios traslados, tuvo varios lugares por la misma razón de que ya no contaba con instalaciones. Entonces, de Sololá tuve que trasladarlo a mi departamento que yo tenía en la ciudad capital. Luego se tuvo que trasladar en otra organización porque yo dejé de rentar este apartamento que se llama Popno. De Popno se trasladó a otra organización que se llama Sendes. Y de Sendes se trasladó a la organización del Arzobispado de Derechos Humanos, ODA, que finalmente están instaladas. Con el apoyo de swisspeace tuvimos la primera intervención en el 2018-19 que se le hizo el diagnóstico, el inventario somero, perdón, de que lo intervino y estuve yo presente con otros compañeros porque para mí es de suma importancia que estos documentos estén resguardados. Ya mencionaba anteriormente que contiene mucha información valiosa, mucha información desde el conflicto armado interno, y para mí es valioso porque hemos sido víctimas en carne propia. Y ya a partir del año 2021, el fondo documental se encuentra ya con instalaciones en la ODA bajo la primicia de los principios Guía Refugio Seguro de Archivos en Riesgo, otorgándole al fondo documental CERJ depósito ya con estanterías adecuadas para su almacenamiento. No lo dejo de agradecer ya con el apoyo de swisspeace y con el apoyo de la ODA que está resguardado nuestro acervo documental. Los documentos del Fondo Documental CERJ contiene el registro de los hechos que afectaron a cada una de las víctimas de las graves violaciones de derechos humanos, sobre todo en la mayoría de las comunidades indígenas del altiplano guatemalteco y campesino, que fueron atendidas por CERJ a lo largo de los años que existió la organización en los años del conflicto armado interno en Guatemala, los procesos de paz y posterior a esto contienen información de primera fuente, testimonio de los propios afectados, directos y testigos. Se han identificado documentos de contenible sensible, de los cuales han sido catalogados de acceso restringido para salvaguardar la intimidad y seguridad de las víctimas. El proyecto de recuperación según preservación a largo plazo del legado documental del CERJ se propone aplicar las normas de los procesos archivísticos de ordenamiento, conservación, descripción archivística con las normas internacionales del ICARUS. El fondo documental CERJ contiene un total de 23.53 metros lineales de documentos, los cuales se encuentran en el repositorio de 87 unidades de instalación, cajas libres de ácido, colocadas ya en estanterías de metal, identificadas con etiquetas provisional. Son la asignatura del subfondo, serie, fechas extremas, número de unidad de instalación y volumen de estas, colocadas en secuencia según el cuadro de clasificación del fondo documental CERJ. También el fondo documental del CERJ cuenta con 8 subfondos documentales y un subfondo de colección documental, todos estos en sus respectivas series, las cuales suman 85 series documentales. El soporte principal de estos documentos es en papel, sin embargo, se cuenta con fotografías, afiches, mantas y carteles, entre otros. La documentación que se encuentra en las unidades de instalación ya fueron intervenidas previamente con los procesos archivísticos de identificación, clasificación, ordenamiento, conservación y sus respectivos inventarios. A la fecha se ha comenzado con el cuarto proceso, que es la digitalización del fondo documental. También creemos que es necesario dar el acceso a este archivo. Únicamente gracias.
Muchas gracias, Angélica. And first, I need to apologize with all the English speaker participants because apparently the subtitles in English are not working well. And apparently in French they are working, but not in English, so I'm very sorry about that. I will just ask a question to Angélica in Spanish again to continue the conversation with her, but I'm really sorry about it. Angélica, lo siento, estaba excusándome porque no funcionaron muy bien los subtítulos en inglés. Pero bueno, primero muchas gracias por compartir esta presentación y esta historia que al final sí, es muy personal y que también está ligada a una realidad muy dura de nuestros países. Y mientras los otros participantes incluyen sus preguntas, yo tengo una, y es, como vimos en las anteriores presentaciones, hay un problema muy complejo entre dar acceso y salvaguardar la privacidad. En este caso va un poco más allá y es también salvaguardar la seguridad, como tú lo mencionaste. ¿Qué medidas se tienen o qué discusiones se han dado para saber cómo abrimos o poner a disposición, como tú lo decías, esta historia, este material que es tan importante y al mismo tiempo salvaguardar a las personas que están involucradas o que están mencionadas allí?
Bueno, en primer lugar, yo considero de que en el caso nuestro tenemos bien identificadas estos casos con nombres y apellidos, porque sí contiene información desde las víctimas. En el caso nuestro, para ya dar el acceso, tenemos muy identificadas y anonimizadas. Por cualquier eventualidad que se presente, tenemos muy identificadas y anonimizadas. Entonces, consideramos de que es importante ya cuando se dé el acceso de información, no dar al acceso público. Sí lo tenemos en nuestras instalaciones, pero tal vez, salvo que sea ya con orden de juez o de algún orden de un ministerio público, entonces lo hemos trabajado así.
Ok, gracias. Y eso me lleva a otra pregunta, y es esa relación con las instituciones públicas. ¿Cómo se lleva? ¿Cuáles son los desafíos que tiene con las instituciones públicas? Hay un reconocimiento como nos ha mostrado en los diferentes decretos y leyes que se han dado, pero ¿cuál es la relación con esas instituciones y cuáles son los desafíos que se tienen con las instituciones públicas?
Hasta el momento nosotros no contamos con ninguna organización pública porque consideramos que todavía no es oportuno, porque como le comentaba, nosotros tenemos la información directa desde las comunidades, desde las víctimas. Entonces consideramos que cuando esto ya esté digitalizado, ya está resguardado quizás en alguna otra parte, porque esto lo hemos trabajado conjuntamente con swisspeace, ya lo mencionaba. Entonces quizás ya es oportuno, pero tenemos que tener ya todo preparado para poder ya dar alguna información. Hasta ahorita lo manejamos con mucha confidencialidad. Sí.
Bueno, gracias, Angélica. Voy a cambiar nuevamente a inglés para hablar a todos los participantes. So we still have a few minutes. Maybe we have another 1 or 2 questions for all the participants. We still have time for that. So I'm just checking if there are other questions. Or maybe for Angélica as well. Yeah, actually there is a question, but okay, it's in the chat. Angélica, preguntan si has pensado en hacer alguna publicación relacionada con este material, usando seudónimos para proteger la identidad de las víctimas, si esto ha sido considerado.
Sí, hemos considerado, lastimosamente ya no pude explicarlo muy bien. Hasta ahora ya estamos preparando la digitalización y posterior a eso se va a crear la página web. Ahorita la digitalización lo estamos trabajando con el apoyo de la Embajada de Suiza, swisspeace y con la Universidad de UCLA. Entonces ya pensamos dar el acceso a la información y con esto la Universidad de UCLA va a tener al público y al mismo tiempo CERJ, la Organización del Consejo de Comunidades Étnicas, también piensa hacerlo, solo que esto es un proceso y aún nos falta todavía.
Okay. Thank you. Gracias, Angélica. Bueno, si no hay más preguntas, pues, so we don't have more questions. I would just like to thank you all the speakers today who responded to our call, and also to our global ICA community for continuing to celebrate and advocate for accessible archives. This is also an invitation. We encourage you to continue engaging with us throughout the week. We still have 7 webinars covering critical and diverse themes, including partnering with communities to transform access to archives, access and integrity in the digital age, copyright, archives, diverse memories and peace building, security, access, and technology. And yeah, these are some of the activities that we organize at ICA, but the whole community of archivists, they are organizing during this week many workshops, webinars, activities that have been sharing our interactive map. I guess my team is sharing the link in the chat. So far, 96 institutions from 40 countries have shared their projects. So we invite you to explore the map because there are nearly 100 events that have been registered as part of the Global Agenda for International Archives Week 2025. So again, thank you very much to everybody, to the speakers, to the participants, and let's continue making our archives even more diverse and accessible. Thank you very much.